have been trying to live quietly and peacefully. And the only reason my face is on TV right now is because I have had to constantly battle false claims.
From David Benoit, whose father's terrible past still haunts him, to Zilla Fatu, who was imprisoned for armed robbery at the age of 15, to Brooke Hogan, who dedicated her life to battling through family scandals and betrayals. The children of deceased WWE superstars met these terrible ends. First of all, Brooke Hogan, the daughter of the most famous figure in wrestling, was never given the opportunity to have a typical upbringing. Born in 1988, when Hulk Hogan was the biggest celebrity in professional wrestling, Brooke Hogan's life was chronicled on the popular VH1 reality show Hogan Knows Best. However, the televised portrayal of the seemingly ideal family was hiding terrible secrets. A second betrayal that destroyed her trust and caused years of alienation was her father's affair with Christiane Plant, Brooke's high school closest friend. The consequences of this betrayal drove Brooke to turn her trauma into artistic endeavors. When she released her debut album, Undiscovered, in 2006, she made an effort at a career in music, but critics wrote it off as a nepotistic cash grab. She left TNA Wrestling in 2013 after her 2012 attempt was criticized as amateurish and including backstage altercations for alleged partiality. Their relationship was further affected by Hulk's 2015 sex tape incident, which included racist outbursts and resulted in his termination from WWE. After Hulk passed away on July 24, 2025, due to a major heart attack, Brooke's once sincere tributes swiftly deteriorated into rage. She questioned why Sky, Hulk's third wife, found the body and why the doctors signed off so quickly, and she sought 911 tapes and body cam evidence. Despite ongoing media attention and online attacks, she claimed in her August 2025 TMZ appearance that estate handlers were disseminating false information about her absence from the funeral, threatening lawsuits against them. Brooke has insisted that she is only attempting to live her own life while preserving her father's legacy.
I have a life, I have 2 kids, I have a job, I have a business. I have been trying to live quietly and peacefully. And the only reason my face is on TV right now is because I have had to constantly battle false claims. The first one being Brooke didn't come to her dad's wedding. Why? Oh, well, Brooke is estranged from her dad. Why? And it's like, I always say 2 things can be true, right? I can love my dad, which is the absolute God's honest truth. I love my father.
Brooke's life had deteriorated into depositions and death threats by October 2025, as police continued their investigation and court filings suggested a malpractice claim. This next wrestler's child had to deal with something much worse than defending their father's estate in court. They would always be associated with one of the most horrifying catastrophes in wrestling history. Everything changed for 14-year-old David Benoit on June 24, 2007, in a horrifying double murder-suicide. His father, Chris Benoit, who was well known for his technical skill and international titles, strangled his wife Nancy and smothered their 7-year-old son Daniel before hanging himself. Although David, who was traveling to Canada at the time, was physically unharmed, he would always feel the guilt of survivors. With his mother, Martina, he was taken from school and moved to Edmonton. Before being accused and subjected to rumors by classmates, David found out about the killings through news reports. David was essentially cut off from his father's accomplishments when WWE removed references to Chris from broadcasts and merchandise. The wrestling community exploded in 2013 when David declared his interest in becoming a professional wrestler and began training at Calgary's Hart Dungeon. In the midst of controversy, his scheduled Hart Legacy wrestling debut versus Chavo Guerrero on July 18, 2014, was abruptly canceled. According to reports, Chris Jericho called promoters to argue that David's debut was risky and inappropriate. David was horrified when Chavo withdrew in solidarity. David is still committed to being a professional wrestler and carrying on his family's wrestling tradition in spite of the obstacles.
Oh, wow. You're David Chris Benoit or Christopher Benoit?
Yeah, I could legally use it. They can't come after me, so.
That's true. Do you think you'd ever wrestle?
Yeah.
As Chris Benoit?
Yeah.
Really? Not as David.
No.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool.
Or would you be Chris Benoit Jr.?
Yeah, man. I got the tights and it says
Your
Benoit
tights?
with the claw.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wolverine.
Yeah.
Wow.
The criticism continued into the 2020s when he was directly questioned about his plans to use his legal name. He went to an AEW event in 2019, however, he was not allowed backstage at any WWE shows after that. Random independent training sessions were met with jeers that chanted, "You killed your brother." In terms of money, David turned to the oil fields of Alberta, where he endured long shifts in bitterly cold conditions. In wrestling circles, David is still a pariah by October 2025. This next wrestler's child ended up in real jail, serving 6 years in a Texas prison beginning at the age of 15, while David Benoit was prohibited from wrestling rings due to his father's offenses. Isaiah Zilla Fatu. On December 4, 2009, Zilla Fatu's father, Eddie Umaga Fatu, passed away at their Houston home when he was just 9 years old. The 290-pound juggernaut passed away at the age of 36 following an abrupt heart attack that was made worse by chronic steroid use and a recent infraction of the WWE wellness policy. Haunted by the toll wrestling took on his body, had expressly forbade his kids from participating. For Zilla, however, the emptiness descended into adolescent disobedience. Zilla, who was born on September 9, 1999, was raised in the shadow of wrestling royalty as a member of the illustrious Anoa'i dynasty. With Zilla brandishing a plastic gun, he and other disturbed teenagers failed to carry out an armed robbery at a convenience shop in Houston when he was 15 years old. The catastrophic repercussions of the crime would drastically change his youth. Transported to the notorious Big Spring facility at the age of 16 for adult jail, Zilla's 6-year term turned into a cruel trial. By year 4, a suicide attempt by another kid prompted reflection, leading to a deep conversion to Islam and the cessation of harmful behaviors. Following their release on March 1, 2022, Zilla emerged penniless, plagued by employment rejections and parole restrictions. In December 2022, Zilla cold-phoned Booker T for a chance to compete in professional wrestling, defying his father's final request. He made his debut on July 15, 2023, and won by spiking Johnny Lyons. His Jeff Hardy-inspired face paint was criticized by critics despite his dominance in championships. The powder cake exploded in August 2025 after Uncle Arkashi's podcast attacked Zilla's coattail riding stunt. Zilla hit back on Axe and his mother Tina angrily, accusing Arkashi of violating Umaga's memories. According to WWE insiders, the feud caused Zilla to be blackballed, shattering the dynasty. As a father himself, Zilla grinds GCW tours by October 2025. If you thought 6 years in prison was a nightmare, imagine the misery this next wrestler's child went through. One that permanently split her family apart while they were on a family cruise. Guerrero, Sharon. Eddie Guerrero left behind 2 young daughters, including 8-year-old Sharon, when he passed away unexpectedly in 2005. Sharon, who was born in El Paso, Texas in 1996, looked up to her father's underdog fire. Her anchor was torn away when Eddie died at the age of 38 from atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, putting her in a step-family dynamic that would supposedly explode into nightmares. In 2012, Sharon's mother, Vicky, wed former Major League Baseball pitcher Chris Benson. He appeared to Sharon 16 like an invader. Rebellions in high school ensued. The family's 2020 carnival trip would ruin everything, even bad boyfriends and DUIs. Sharon claimed that after midnight cocktails, Chris, who was docked in the Bahamas, stormed into her cabin and pinned her against the vanity in what she called unwelcome touching that escalated to penetration attempts. She ran in tears to Vicky's suite in a panic. According to reports, Vicky sighed. It was an error. Before banning Sharon's texts, he said, "He's not like that." There was no police report submitted. The betrayal persisted until April 2nd of 2023, when Sherlyn shared a TikTok with 50,000 views that described the 22-20 nightmare. Vicky went crazy on Instagram, exposing financial records and accusing Sherlyn of being a narcissistic maniac who cried rape after encounters. The abandonment was heightened by Sister Shaw's silence. There was a legal hellfire. Chris and Vicky filed a defamation lawsuit in Harris County, requesting damages over $1 million. Sherlin received $45,000 in fees when the trial court dismissed the lawsuit in August 2023, but the appeal continued until August 27, 2024, when the Texas First Court reversed some of the rulings. By October 2025, Sharon, aged 29, is employed in Houston as a medical aesthetics coordinator, and death threats and depositions are imminent. Sharon Guerrero's mother publicly accused her of lying on Instagram. But years later, the child of this next wrestler found her mother's body and witnessed the public revelation of WWE's darkest secrets. Masaru Alexa. Being the face of WWE's most sinister accusations was never something Alexa Massaro sought. When her world fell apart, the daughter of Ashley Massaro, the punk rock pixie who broke into the WWE through the 2005 Diva Search, was just 18 years old. On May 16, 2019, Ashley, 39, was found hanging in her Suffolk County apartment. Despite struggles with depression and CTE, her death was determined to be suicide. Alexa was raised backstage at wrestling matches and was conceived during Ashley's 2005 surge in stardom. As Ashley's 2015 breakdowns and concealed pill bottles trickled down to 14-year-old Alexa by high school, cracks started to show. The 2016 lawsuit documents Ashley's declaration about a 2007 gang rape in Kuwait that was allegedly covered up by WWE, and Ashley's allegations of harassment by Vince McMahon were leaked to Alexa, attracting trolls who yelled at rape girls. Alexa was gutted when she found the body mid-text chain thanks to Ashley's rope in the closet. Although there were sympathies on social media, predators were still present. The GoFundMe reached $115,000 in May 2019. However, audits showed that $8,000 had been embezzled by family members. By 2021, Alexa had switched to modeling while still enrolled at SUNY Purchase, but controversies followed. Alexa made brief appearances in the 2023 Vice documentary, which revealed Ashley's whole declaration. Her hostel was flooded by paparazzi. In 2025, the McMahon maelstrom crushed her composure. Podcaster Dan Saint said on August 27th that he saw Vince finger Ashley on a flight in Europe in 2006. Depositions in Stamford continued until October 2025, during which Alexa, then 24 years old, was questioned about her early flights and her breakdowns were leaked to TMZ. Her Manhattan walk-up was doxxed by a swarm of online attackers. Alexa gigs Fashion Week fringes by October 18th. If you thought it was difficult to be forced to testify in WWE depositions at the age of 24, consider this next wrestler's child who began professional wrestling at the age of 13, which sparked a huge debate regarding child exploitation in the sport. Christmas 2020 turned into a nightmare for Brody Lee Jr., Nolan Huber, when he was just 8 years old. Just one day after his last AEW appearance, his father, Jonathan Huber, also known as Brody Lee, passed away on December 26, 2020, at the age of 41 from unidentified pulmonary fibrosis. Before the ambulance wail, Nolan saw his father wheeze through the holiday lights. By January 2021, when he was 8 years old, Nolan made his Dynamite debut as -1, revealing mid-segment and garnering 1.2 million views for his heartfelt, "I Miss Daddy." He signed a contract with AEW that included royalties that would vest at age 18. However, retaliation started right away. One popular 2021 petition that gathered 15,000 signatures denounced child endangerment, and Twitter mobs branded it sorrow porn. As Nolan developed, the controversies intensified. His 2022 Men's Health profile at age 11 sparked both praise and condemnation, with some individuals, like Eric Bischoff, labeling it creepy nepotism. Nolan unintentionally speared Hangman Page in a 2023 Dark Order perspective, resulting in an overexposed brat chance. Debates erupted into a full-scale controversy in 2025. The 13-year-old debuted as Brody Lee Jr. at GCW's Cluster Battle Royal in Vegas on April 19th, dropping the -1 mask. He defeated Joey Janela and Megan Bayne, defeating Mance Warner in the process. When the kayfabe child invaded our territory, GCW purists yelled. The double-duty blitz sparked criticism in July. Nolan took a red-eye to Dallas for GCW after crashing the Row Supercard in Arlington on the 11th. His 12-hour workday sparked new outcry, with detractors labeling him a liability. By October 2025, when he is 6 years old and benching 185, Nolan trains non-stop despite worrying episodes of anxiety. Brody Lee Jr., on the other hand, is criticized for wrestling at an early age. The child of this next wrestler made news for a very different reason, allegedly using a hotel lamp to strike her partner after a heated argument at a motel in Florida. Georgia Smith. Being the daughter of British Bulldog Davy Boy Smith meant that I inherited both dysfunctional family dynamics and a famed wrestling heritage. Georgia, who was born in Calgary on November 5, 1986, personified the Heart Dungeon dynasty. 15-year-old Georgia's life fell apart on May 18, 2002, when her father passed away at the age of 39 from a heart attack brought on by an unintentional overdose of painkillers. In the midst of treatment for Georgia's grief-fueled bulimia, which caused her to drop to 95 pounds by the age of 16, her father's fiancée, Andrea Hart, enforced no wrestling conversation regulations after 2002. Rebellions in high school were brewing. George was placed on probation by the youth court after being expelled in 2004 for hitting a bully. A brief foray into independent wrestling ended in 2008. In 2013, the powder keg caught fire. At the age of 26, George's tumultuous relationship with independent wrestler Razor Rick Rollins ended in a motel fight in Florida after she allegedly broke his orbital bone by ambushing him with a hotel lamp. Prosecutors argued for aggravated assault in addition to felony battery, but Razor's retraction and George's heartfelt plea resulted in a misdemeanor. She suffered from the scandal for years. In the end, Georgia pursued reconciliation. She established the British Bulldog brand after moving to Wigan, England, in 2015. Georgia's 10,000 signature campaign for a Wigan Believe star went viral in February 2025, but it was snuffed out by the mayor in August for lacking enough connections. Georgia criticized the decision, receiving backlash in addition to 500,000 TikTok views. Davies' plaques were stolen by robbers during the Hardus theft in March. Georgia Grinds, 38, will be the brand manager by October 2025. If you thought getting arrested for felony violence was awful, well, this next wrestler's child watched Hollywood utterly delete her and her mother from a $45 million film about her family's tragic experience. Eric Lacey. Growing up, Lacey Atkinson was well acquainted with the Von Erich curse. She toddled through arenas where fans admired her curls. Born on July 5, 1985, she was the daughter of Kerry Von Erich, the modern-day warrior whose Iron Claw submissions energized world-class championship wrestling. However, after battling chronic pain, heroin addiction, and legal issues, Kerry shot himself in the chest with a .357 Magnum at his Texas ranch on February 18, 1993, when Lacey was 7 years old. Lacey heard her mother Catherine's screams and the shot while she was playing in the adjacent room. The curse hung on by her teens. Texas A&M College failed, expelled for party violations in 2006. At age 24, he signed with TNA in 2009. As Texas Venus, Lacey made her debut. However, there were numerous blunders, including a jumbled promo and a 2010 Knockouts title mishap in which she stumbled over ropes, drew mocks. Veterans accused her of vetoing the screenplay backstage. Additionally, Lacey was suspended after throwing a curling iron during a hotel altercation with Angelina Love in July 2010. Farce marked the end of her 42-day reign. Lacey clung to treasured recollections of her father's kindness in spite of career setbacks. Family rifts widened after wrestling. Lacey hosted the Von Erich Legacy podcast, but episodes turned into curse rants, and she filed for bankruptcy in 2019 and divorced in 2018, which resulted in curse cash crunch. The Iron Claw biopic's collapse in 2025 was the pinnacle of her scandals. The $45 million movie from A24 completely left out Mother Catherine, Sister Holly, and Lacey. Lacey's Variety statement on April 19th described it as heartbreakingly false. Her former persona received criticism despite reaching 500,000 impressions. Lacey's Plano podcast by October 2025. The child of this next wrestler had to witness her mother's descent into drug abuse and exploitation, which culminated in a deadly overdose in a Nanina motel in 2010, even though Lacey Von Erich was left out of a Hollywood documentary. Vashon Luna. The story of Luna Vachon started when she was adopted into the most infamous family in wrestling. She was grafted into the Vachon dynasty after her mother wed Paul the Butcher Vachon. Gertrude Wilkerson was born on January 12, 1962. Luna's youth was veiled in greater horrors as she grew up in a blood-soaked basement. Rumors of grooming by her Aunt Vivian progressed to alleged assault attempts during 1972 sleepovers, according to her journals, which were released in the 2025 probate after Paul died of prostate cancer on February 29, 2024. In an effort to make ends meet in 1980, Luna traveled to Florida as a teenager and worked in pornographic films. Her valet viciousness propelled her to WWE prominence in 1993 as the Chaos Queen with spiked hair and face paint, after she made her wrestling debut in 1985. However, there was a negative side to the Attitude Age. Luna's 1994 declaration, which was released in 2025, described Vince McMahon's alleged harassment. Her dive was deepened by drugs. By 1999, outbursts were fueled by a combination of cocaine and methadone. Dismissed in 2001. Following a DUI collision in 2003, custody disputes ensued. Luna, 48, was found overdosing on crushed Ambient and Jack Daniels in a Nanina motel on August 27, 2010. 200 people attended her funeral. But Paul's speech was triggered by Vivian's absence. "My girl was slaughtered by your shadows, sis." Luna was well known throughout her career for her candid thoughts about the industry and her scathing criticism of women's wrestling psychology. Drama broke out in 2025 when the independent biopic Lunatic. The Luna Vachon story debuted at Fantasia Fest in March. The script, which was taken from Luna's notebooks, graphically described Vivian's purported attacks. In April, 82-year-old Vivian filed a $1 million slander lawsuit against producers. Van, Luna's now 36-year-old son, makes his debut. The appeals are still unresolved as of October 2025. The kid of this next wrestler has spent decades defending her father's reputation while being left out of his will and the object of widespread online hoaxes. If you thought navigating a contentious film about your mother was challenging, Rousimov, Robin Christensen. Robin Christensen Rousimov had only 5 brief encounters with her father. Born in 1979 from a brief affair during a Grenoble tour stop, Robin was Andre the Giant's only child and entered a world where her father was more legendary than real. Gene raised Robin solo in Seattle, and his gigantism globe-trotting him from wrestling ring to big screen. In the midst of schoolyard taunts, 14-year-old Robin put together the CNN News when Andre passed away on January 27, 1993, at the age of 46 from congestive heart failure. The fight over inheritance started right away. A 1994 probate fight resulted from Andre's bequest, which left Gene his French vineyard but completely left Robin out. Gene counter-sued, giving Robin $400,000 but denying him access to the vineyard. Her twisted, traumatized adolescence, a 1997 suicide gesture, Robin dropped out in 1995 when bullies scrolled large spawn on lockers. Through Image Entertainment LLC, Robin gained control by 2005 and licensed Andre's image for $2 million in income annually. However, she was prohibited from solo ventures due to the 2007 WWE settlement, which cost $1.5 million for trademarks. She was recognized as a meme martyr in 2025. A scam was disseminated on October 5th by the all-hip-hop viral vortex. 50 million people saw the TikTok's post promoting Andre's hidden rapper daughter. Robin's privacy was destroyed by the commotion. She was swatted in September after doxers abandoned her ranch address. Robin has remained focused on the important things despite all the commotion, respecting Andre as her father rather than just as the wrestler. It hurt that WWE didn't remark when Andre wasn't given credit in their September banner. On October 10th, she was deposed by TKO CEO Ari Emanuel in a shareholder litigation. By October 18th, Robin Christensen Rousimov is fighting WWE in shareholder lawsuits over her father's image, and Robin is consulting on a biographical reboot. Thank you for viewing. If you enjoyed it, click on one of the recommended videos that is currently displayed on your screen to continue the trip and see more incredible material.